Alrighty, it is Sunday and the week starts again tomorrow, so I'm doing my weekly update. Um, Last week, probably the biggest chunk of it was focused on the budget. We had our first round of budget meetings while I've been a commissioner and set a preliminary recommendation for the budget committee. Something folks may notice in that at the end of the process, when we first go through it, we have to submit a zero balance recommendation to the budget committee. Now, what could have been done is to play with a bunch of numbers and work on that and try and propose the cuts that would have been necessary, but I recommended we not do that. Historically, that's been done some, and then the remainder has been filled with the forestry fund for the purpose of recommendation, not that it'll actually be spent in total. Because that's its own bag of worms. But yeah, I proposed we do that. That way, when we get to the budget committee, we're all talking about what we're looking at, what we've seen. It gives us a little more time, and it lets the public better see what we're looking at and what we're proposing as solutions. Because I think doing it in these early meetings, there was nobody from the community. There was one member of the budget committee, staff obviously, but other than that, nobody attended. So it wouldn't have been easy for folks to know what was going on if we did it there. So putting it until the next meeting, I think that's going to be April. Forget the exact day. But towards the end of the budget deficit, or to discuss it, it's looking right now 1.8 million shy. It is still quite a bit short after the cuts from last year. So that's a bad situation, obviously. And that's why it's important, I think, that I've been talking since I came on about new ways to generate revenue, and I've been told that's caused a lot of focus on generating more revenue, so that's cool. Some of the stuff this week, I thought it was Monday, it's actually Friday. I'm meeting with folks from the Elliott Forest Project. Going to talk to them again about the carbon credit issue, what they're going to pay to Coos County when they do that, because, as I said before, there had been no discussion of it up to this point. So I'm going to get more information on that. I can't project how much money it would generate because this is only the second state forest in the nation to be declared a carbon credit forest, and they hadn't been talking about it before I got involved. So there is no idea what that number might be, but the important thing is that the money they gain, some of it comes back to Coos County, because as I told the state offices, if you're going to make money here and not provide some of it to the welfare of the citizens, we're going to have a problem. So there's that bit. This week, it looks like Tuesday, I'm going to have a meeting with a larger industrial investment project that's interested in the area. Before folks worry, no, it's not Jordan Cove. It's nothing that I've heard brought up in the past, actually. It looks like it's a new opportunity. So I'll be talking to some folks about that, and in the interim, I'm going to be mysterious about it because I don't want to blow anything. Some folks have seen the forest productivity, timber productivity executive order that came out of the president's office. I might have mentioned this before. I got some calls about it or some messages about it, and it's got a snag in it with what's referred to as the good neighbor clause. Unfortunately, the good neighbor clause applies between the state and the federal. It doesn't really apply to counties much. So some lobbyists on our behalf with the Association of Counties have addressed that with some some federal officials, and it looks like that'll be corrected so that if there is a timber harvest, Coos County again gets its fair portion. Otherwise, there's a chance that it wouldn't happen, or it would happen, but we wouldn't see any money to offset the needs. I mentioned the idea of a 5% income tax returning to the county. not increasing anyone's taxes. That's money that already goes to the state, but instead of the state keeping all 100%, we would get 5%. I talked with the Association of Counties. That was the biggest body I'm familiar with that could help. Unfortunately, they can't help because they're a government entity, so they can't engage in that particular aspect. So yeah, still looking for partners on that. Obviously, budget and all this has me a little sidetracked right now, but it is a long-term objective, because that would be something like $4.8 million to the county government, and that would pay for all of the public safety needs at this point, just about, and then we don't have to ask anybody for more money. Let's see. Interesting thing I saw. I'm not sure where it'll go, but apparently the Forest Service plans to do treatment, abatement, and some commercial harvest of about 3,000 acres near Powers. I've never seen anything like that. I don't know how that works. I've reached out to some state offices and asked them, hey, I feel like I would have heard about this before, but I'm gonna see what they're doing and what they expect to see come to us, because as with everything else, if they do business here and it doesn't return to the folks in Coos County, it's a problem. And folks may have noticed we are seeing some flooding in the county. I got a message that some roads are down. I got a message earlier from one of the other commissioners for scheduling a meeting tomorrow, because to declare a state of emergency, we have to have a meeting with all of us. So for scheduling purposes, I was messaged, and that's what the meeting will be. We don't form any agreement in those things, because that would be meeting outside daylight, and that's not okay. So yep, tomorrow you'll probably hear about us authorizing an emergency order because the weather is bad. And then safety fees. I brought this up a few times. I talked with some more folks with the visitor system here, and this idea stems from what Bandon Dunes does voluntarily. They self-impose a safety fee on their rooms, and it is a huge help to the sheriff's office's budget, which we greatly appreciate. It's a very impressive show on their part of support that they don't have to do. They just choose to do it. And I've talked to some folks about maybe other hotels doing this, and there are some overlaps already to where it wouldn't make as much sense with the city hotels. And then in the county land, we just don't have many hotels, so the quantity there is iffy. But what was brought up as a possibility as well is for some of our recreational parks, our RV parks, when folks come in from out of the area, tourists come in and they camp, if the county could impose something like that on those. And it's another way to get folks that don't live here but enjoy being in the area to pay into the services we all need, because they benefit as well from our police, but they don't pay taxes here. So it's a way to offset some of that burden. Has its complexities, but that's all stuff to be sorted out another day. And the last thing on here is just kind of during the budget, I mentioned the deficit, $1.8 million so far. Included in the budget was a 5% raise for the commissioners. I moved to remove that. So we recommended in the budget that there not be a raise for the commissioners. It was a 5%. I would rather see our other staff get raises before myself, and that was the full agreement of the rest of the board. So we requested to decline our pay raise because the budget committee has to approve it, but we're requesting, and I don't see why they would argue. Last thing that's a funny. I got a message a little bit ago that there's a rumor out there that I'm not a commissioner anymore. I haven't heard that one, but somebody reached out and told me that's the word on the internet. I don't know what part of the internet, but rest assured I am still a commissioner, county commissioner, and I don't intend to be going anywhere. So That's just a funny one. People come up with all kinds of things. But that's it for now. I wish everybody a good weekend. Or I guess good week. The weekend's over. But yeah, that's it.